Welcome to the webcast. I'm Jason Gumpert from MSDynamicsWorld.com, and today we are lucky to be joined by Gretchen Opferkew, Director of Education at Dynamics CRM partner PowerObjects. Gretchen is a returning speaker with us, and we're really pleased to have her back. She is a real leader for Dynamics CRM in terms of educational presentations and training content at PowerObjects, and I think you're in for a real treat today. We invite you to add your feedback and ask questions during Gretchen's presentation, and there are a couple ways for you to do this. First, you can use the Q&A tab that you'll see to the right of the screen, and you can enter your questions anytime. And we'll also be trying to add a few tweets in here and there and observations from the session. Feel free to add your comments or questions using the hashtag MSDWCRM, and we'll be taking a look at that as well. So without further delay, please allow me to welcome Gretchen and turn over control to her.
Awesome. Well, let me take a little bit of time here to quickly introduce myself. I am based in Minneapolis, Minnesota, so welcome from Minnesota, or greetings from Minnesota. I work for an organization called PowerObjects. We are a Microsoft partner that focuses on Microsoft Dynamics CRM alone. We have about 100 employees doing CRM and loving it. We do a few things here. We do services for CRM, so we do implementations of CRM, helping organizations plan and implement their CRM systems. We also have a support help desk at PowerObjects. We have over 14 add-ons, about 15 add-ons in the marketplace for Microsoft CRM, so some additional tools that add value to Microsoft Dynamics CRM. And we also have an education department, and that's where I fall in. I'm the director of our education department, and we have some customer-focused trainings that we do in our education department. We do boot camps. We also do internal training, so I'm responsible for all of the onboarding of our consultants and training them how to become CRM masters. So that's why this particular webinar is right up my alley. I also participate in a lot of community things like the CRM user group. I'm on the board for the CRM user group and participate in public speaking with the CRM user group and other Microsoft Dynamics CRM related groups. So I'm super excited to be talking to you about this topic. And hopefully next week I will see some of you at Convergence. PowerObjects is a gold sponsor there. And if you are planning to be there, please stop by our booth and meet me. I hope to be there, and I'll also be speaking at the CRMUG sessions as well. So let's get started. The goal for this session is to get you excited about mastering CRM. Your organization may be on this webinar just looking to grow your knowledge of the various resources available, or you personally may be interested in excelling in your CRM knowledge and possibly looking at a career in CRM if you're not already in a career related to CRM. So I welcome all of you, and will definitely be giving you that information. In fact, I'll probably be giving you so much information you might feel a little overwhelmed. There are a couple million users of Microsoft Dynamics CRM in the world, and so there is an incredible amount of information on Microsoft Dynamics CRM. And hopefully you aren't going to be begging me to stop by the end of this session. I'm just going to be giving you so much information. So what are we going to be talking about? Well, the agenda for today is we're going to talk a little bit about a roadmap if you are looking at a career in CRM. But we will then be going through all the various resources. So if your organization currently uses Microsoft Dynamics CRM, or if you're looking to use Microsoft Dynamics CRM, we'll talk about resources for customers. And then we'll go through books, videos, blogs, communities, events, trainings, certifications, all of those things that you can get in relation to Microsoft Dynamics CRM. And then we'll talk about the MVP pass. And then we will take questions at the end. So definitely submit your questions as we go, and we will take those at the end. Just by way of introduction, this is kind of how I see the roadmap to becoming an MVP if you are focused on a career in CRM. You could take kind of the path that I did. I'm not an MVP, but I did start in the business working as a marketing assistant. And I worked with, before Microsoft Dynamics CRM, I worked with Access databases. And in a marketing department, I found myself just loving the relational database. And so that's where I would put the champion person at. You may be working for a company. You may be working with Microsoft Dynamics CRM and just find yourself loving working with it. Maybe you are enjoying working with advanced finds. Maybe you are getting into some of the configuration of screens and really thinking, this is really neat. This is a powerful application. And if you find yourself in that spot, I would call you a champion. You're kind of leading the way in your organization for championing CRM. From there, you might start just building your expertise and within your organization becoming an expert at CRM. I've seen people within companies and organizations actually become more of an application expert. Some people become more of a technical expert, more of a back-end database, working with the SQL database, possibly doing custom development, doing some integrations. So there's different paths you can take in building your expertise, and we'll talk a little bit about those. There really is not a lot of need to be certified in CRM unless you plan to become a consultant. Or if you are looking at possibly using your CRM experience on your resume, then possibly a certification may look good on the resume. But outside of that, the certification probably isn't going to provide a lot of value for you as an individual in terms of your learning. It's more of a hoop to jump through. We will also talk about in this session the consultant possibility of becoming a consultant and what that might look like, and then of course the MVP. We'll talk about what an MVP is and the path to becoming an MVP. So let's get started. Actually, getting started in learning Microsoft Dynamics CRM is incredibly easy and accessible, especially if you are either in a trial of Microsoft Dynamics CRM or if you have CRM implemented in your organization. And that's because if you look at your left navigation, you will see an area called the Resource Center down below Settings. And in that Resource Center, there's actually a wealth of information. It is not just a fluffy, pretty looking screen. It has a lot of information if you poke around in here and take a look. So there's some basic instructional information and videos that you can access for how to work with contacts, how to work with the marketing area, you could see even from my screen here, how to do reports and dashboards and things like that. What's new in CRM, if you're on CRM Online or if you are in the process of updating your implementation to the latest roll-up, you can see some of the new features. But if you scroll down in this Resource Center area, there are little links down at the bottom, resources for developers, resources for IT professionals, e-learning and certification training, and marketplace. So for some of you on the call, if you aren't aware of this Resource Center, you could almost exit out of this webinar right now and go in there and spend hours exploring. There is just a ton of value in this resource alone. But I'm going to drill into a couple of these. The first one I'm going to take a look at is the e-learning and certification for you. That takes me right to a place called Customer Source. Customer Source is something that if you're a Microsoft Dynamics CRM customer, you should have access to, and if you don't know that you have access to it, you should talk to the administrator at your organization or the person who has signed you up. If you're with CRM Online, the person who signed you up for that online subscription should have access to Customer Source and should be able to add you and give you access to Customer Source. But Customer Source is included with Microsoft CRM Online for all customers. It has the ability to open up support cases with Microsoft in it. It has a searchable knowledge base, and it also has all of this e-learning information with links to instructor-led training as well being offered throughout the world. So you can definitely check out Customer Source and make sure that you're connected in with Customer Source. It's your primary connection directly to Microsoft. So this is your primary method of communication, or the bi-directional communication with Microsoft. This link you'll see on all of my slides up on the top right. It says Customer Source, and then I've got the actual link in there. These slides will be available on, and this recorded presentation will be available on MS Dynamics World website for you to come back to. So don't feel like you need to be taking down every note of every URL if it's a place that you want to visit. You can definitely get these resources from the MS Dynamics World website. But I will be giving you the URLs for everything that we're looking at today. One of the other links in that resource center was for resources for IT professionals, and I highly recommend clicking on that link. That takes you to this page where you actually have links to all of the Microsoft provided documentation for CRM. This is basic documentation that every customer should look at and have. It goes through all of the minimum requirements of CRM and the installation options, and gives you links to the downloads for installing the Outlook client and all of those things. Just a side note though, for this page, you'll see up at the top I've circled sign up for a free online trial. If you're with an organization and you want to learn more about CRM and maybe you don't have access to a test environment or a development environment, you can go ahead and sign up for an online trial, and you'll at least have 30 days to play with CRM Online and take a look around at what CRM looks like out of the box. Chances are your organization has customized it. Chances are you are only working with part of the CRM system, what it can do. And so starting up a new trial will help you to see what it does out of the box as a whole, and if you're learning, that's a great tool. And you'll see I also have the URL for this standard documentation page on the right. You can also search on Bing for the Microsoft Dynamics CRM 2011 Implementation Guide. That will bring up that guide as well for you to download if you haven't seen that. So those things that I just covered, the Resource Center, Customer Source, and the standard documentation, those are things that every customer and everyone wanting to learn CRM should start with as a baseline. Let's get into some next level things. This is the baby steps. We're going from baby to toddler here. Is the possibility of looking at some books. So, of course, you can order books. These are some books. There are actually quite a lot of CRM books out there written by some very intelligent people. And these are some books that I actually recommend to clients, and we also give out during our trainings, our boot camps. For a beginner, there's Microsoft CRM Online Quick Reference. I like this book. It is truly a quick reference. And even though it says Microsoft Dynamics CRM Online, it can be used for people who are on-premise as well. I like this dashboards cookbook for people who are at that champion level and wanting to make sure that they can maximize their understanding of how to report out of CRM, and I would definitely recommend that book for that champion level person. And then if you're looking at being more of an administrator level person and want that book on your desk that you can run to when you have questions, this is a great, the Administration Bible is a great book for that. So like I mentioned, there are plenty of awesome books out there to choose from. If you go to an in-person conference like Convergence or other conferences we'll be talking about, you can also go to the bookstore there and take a look at the books before purchasing. So next I want to talk about videos, and this is something that a lot of people don't think about, the fact that there are actually hundreds of thousands of videos out on the web for learning CRM. So if you're the type of person who likes to watch maybe a 5 or 10 minute video and test something out or try something out, this website, Demo CRM Online, has just hundreds of videos on various things that you can do. And even though, again, it says Demo CRM Online, a lot of these videos apply to on-premise installations. But definitely check out this site and bookmark it if you haven't already. It's a great resource for also training end users if you're using some of the out-of-the-box functionality of CRM, like the sales process or the marketing or the customer service process. Now, these videos are going to be more high-level, explaining how to do something. There's also another resource that takes a little bit of a deeper dive, and this is called the CRM How-To Portal. There's about 30 videos here that are more on the champion and CRM administrator level, and they also have printouts or handouts that you can take away and actually run through some of the labs and things like that. So that is another option for you for videos. Also, you could definitely go out and search on Bing or search on YouTube for Microsoft Dynamics CRM and come across numerous videos on a certain topic in any language. So next we're going to talk about blogs. Blogs are a great resource if you are learning CRM and wanting to start down that path past the champion into the expert and possibly beyond that level. These are actually, according to MS Dynamics World, the top 5 CRM blogs out there. There are honestly hundreds of blogs, so it may take a little bit of trial and error to find the right blogs for you. Some blogs have more tips and trips type content. Some blogs have a mixture of administrative content. Some blogs have a lot of industry-focused content. So definitely take a look at these blogs, and if you're really starting or wanting to head down the path of becoming a CRM master, you might consider starting your own blog and actually blogging your journey, kind of the things that you're learning, the things that you find useful about Microsoft CRM. So I encourage you to do that if you're looking at that career path of, you know, I really like this application, what can I do more with it? And I didn't give the specific URLs for each of these blogs, but you can see them from this URL at the msdynamicsworld.com. Next, let's talk about online communities. So there's quite a few online communities for getting information on CRM, and so I'm going to actually go through each one of these and show you around a little bit. But the main overarching thing that I want to say about online communities is to become a contributor. Pick at least one community to become a contributor of that community. The only one I'm not going to talk extensively about is the LinkedIn groups. There's just a number of LinkedIn groups, and you might consider joining a group on LinkedIn and becoming a contributor there. But I'm going to go through each of these, the Dynamics World, Dynamics Community, MSDN, and XRM Virtual, and CRMUG. So the first one I want to talk about is MS Dynamics World. If you are on this call, you are very likely already a member of MS Dynamics World. You do need to sign up to be a member to get access to the MS Dynamics World content. But once you do, and it's a free sign up, there is actually a huge wealth of information out on this website. The webinar today is going to be out there as recorded content, and there are hundreds of webinars out there that you can search the Dynamics World website and find. There's also a number of articles and white papers, case studies, and things like that. If you get their newsletter, or if you are signed up, you for sure get the newsletter, and the newsletter comes out with a list of the new and the latest content, which is hugely valuable if you're learning CRM or trying to get an understanding of what's going on in the world of CRM. And Adam, I wanted to check with you to see if you had anything to add to what's offered by my MS Dynamics World.
Oh, thanks, Gretchen. I think the only other thing I would add is the new developments that are going on in the community and trying to consolidate those, whether it be product announcements, event happenings like Convergence next week, or solutions that are from other vendors like BI or marketing automation or data management solutions. We try to keep readers up to date on those kinds of related news items as well. And thanks for the kind words.
Yeah, I have found it actually hugely helpful myself, so great. All right, so the next community I want to take a look at is the Dynamics communities, and this is actually the primary one that I participate in. It is primarily the forums that I participate in and contribute to. But there also is a blog out on the Dynamics communities where a number of the MVPs contribute. You can see that on the navigation up at the top, you can see it says MVP, so there is a list of MVPs out there. And there's also a number of videos linked out here as well. The thing I really like about this community and the next one that I'm going to show and talk to you about is, the next two actually, is that you can go out and you can ask questions, and experienced people are there to answer your questions. So both Microsoft monitors this forum, as well as many of the MVPs and people such as myself who have over 5 years of experience working with Microsoft Dynamics CRM. So it's a great place to just go out and ask a question. Even if you're working with a partner, if you have just a quick question, oftentimes this is a great place to go to get that quick question answered. And the next community that I want to talk about is the MSDN. Very similar to the Dynamics community, very rich content. There's a forum here where you can post questions and have a conversation about your question. There's also a support knowledge base here and a wiki in this community. What I'm showing right now is actually where, if you go back to the Resource Center in Microsoft CRM and you click on the Developer Resources, it actually takes you to this area right here, which is the Developer Center and all of the information that somebody who is a technical developer would need to know about CRM. So you're going to get links to the latest software development kit and information and training related to developing on top of CRM. So I encourage, especially the more technical people, to engage in this community specifically. Next community is actually put together by a firm out in Colorado and an MVP there. And this is the XRM Virtual User Group. They have a monthly webinar as well, and it's usually a very deep technical topic. So I would recommend this community, or at least getting on the newsletter and sign-ups for information on the monthly webinars for the more technical people. And lastly, I'm going to talk about the CRMUG online community. It's called Collaborate. And actually, this is a pretty small community, whereas the other communities that I was showing you, the MSDN and the Dynamics communities, those are very large communities, worldwide communities. This community is just a members-only community. It is a growing community, definitely, but right now, relatively speaking, it's small. But interestingly, it's also very saturated with CRM experts. So if you want to connect with CRM experts and also other customers, I recommend the CRMUG Collaborate community. And this, of course, has the forums where you can have discussions. It also, the CRMUG also has a huge amount of searchable content out in this community. And I would say that if you are planning to become a CRM expert, or if your organization is trying to invest in learning in CRM, this would be my #1 recommendation for you. And I'm just going to talk a little bit more about CRMUG as a whole, since I'm talking about the community. The CRMUG has in-person regional chapter meetings. They are building out those chapter meetings worldwide. So they're increasingly happening across the globe, although there are quite a few here in the United States. And they also have frequent webinars and special interest groups. So if you are in a specific industry, such as financial services or healthcare, you'll find groups of people who are using CRM in those industries specifically. They also have an academy where you can actually pay for online learning classes that are delivered in person, and they have a newsletter as well. So I gave the pricing here just so you can see right away, if you're not a member of the CRMUG community, how economical it would be for the wealth of information that you have at your fingertips. And I highlighted the webinars and then the access to the Collaborate website. So even if I were not on the board of CRMUG, I would recommend this for a rich learning experience for CRMUG, or for somebody learning CRM. So let's talk about in-person events now. This is one way to really accelerate your learning is by doing something in person. These are some of the major events that are happening in the U.S., and Convergence is happening in New Orleans next week, but it generally happens in March. The primary focus of Convergence is connecting directly with Microsoft, getting the vision for CRM right from the horse's mouth, what's coming next. And also, if you are working with a Microsoft partner, to spend time with that partner, connecting with that partner, learning from that partner. And generally, the sessions that you'll attend are taught by Microsoft. There is a half day of sessions by the CRMUG at the first part of the Convergence, and those are taught by many MVPs and subject matter experts, customers using CRM teach those sessions. And there's also at Convergence quite a lot of capability of connecting with people who are in your same situation. So if you are a salesperson, if you are marketing, if you are an administrator, if you're a technical developer, if you're in a certain industry, if you're looking at doing a certain type of project, coming up with your CRM, you can connect with all of those groups. There's roundtables for all of those things throughout Convergence. And there's about 12,000 people there. It's definitely an international group, which is really awesome to be able to connect with people across the world, get different perspectives on how they're using CRM in their organization. Then there's the CRMUG Summit. That is typically in the fall, in the October timeframe. This year it's in Orlando. And it is a 3-day conference, but there's a pre-day that is also for the CRMUG Academy, so it's paid training that you can sign up for and kind of tack that on to your conference. Most of the CRMUG Summit is presented, or the sessions are presented by MVPs and customers. And so there's a focus just on rich CRM learning. It's very much designed to take you deeper in your learning. And then there are the regional chapter meetings, which you may have a regional chapter close to you. You can definitely go to the URL I'm showing here and check to see if you have a regional chapter. The focus of those are connecting with other people in your region, hearing case studies of other customers, and of course, any topics that are chosen by the group. So the group may say, I want to learn about telephony integration, or I want to talk about user adoption, or whatever you as a group decide. And I definitely encourage that. And if you're planning on becoming a CRM master, I encourage you to speak at the regional chapter meetings, or speak at the CRMUG Summit, or speak at Convergence, because just the process of thinking through and how you are going to present and what you're going to say, that will build in infrastructure in your knowledge and in your learning for the future. So it'll be hugely beneficial for you to step up and be somebody who's contributing in that way. Just about speaking, for Convergence in the fall time frame, I would say around September or October, if you visit the Convergence website, there is a speaker volunteer application that you can fill out. For the CRMUG Summit, you can actually contact them directly. Tony Stein is the director, and I would contact him if you're interested in speaking. And then the regional chapters, you would just need to attend the regional chapter meetings, and those you do not have to be a member in order to attend. And then if you're working with a Microsoft partner, you may also have an event that they put on annually. I know quite a few partners that put on an annual event for their customers, which you could attend. Ours is a one-day customer learning event in October in Minneapolis, so you can definitely reach out to your partner to determine if they have some event that they offer as well for learning. And then the other in-person content that you may receive is actually by going to a training. So you can have your partner do a training for you. And the reason I think the partner training is the best value for your time is because typically the partner that you're working with can establish where you are, what knowledge you need, and really target the knowledge transfer that you are looking for, specific to your organization and your needs. So that's going to be where you're going to get the most value in a short amount of time. You can do a 1-hour session or a 2-hour session often with your partner, and that's going to be a good use of your time. Just to give you an idea of the communication path that exists out there, Microsoft generally communicates to MVPs what's coming. There's an MVP list that is kind of a insider community, so they have the opportunity to comment on what they think about things or what needs to be changed about CRM or what's coming down the pike. But partners also have that direct connection with Microsoft. So it's a two-way dialogue between partners and Microsoft saying, you know, we're hearing from customers that this needs to be changed, or Microsoft will come to some partners and ask them what they think about a new feature or ask them to test a new feature. So it's good to have a connection with a partner if you're wanting to learn CRM and make sure that you have a connection. Otherwise, your connection is really just looking online at what's being published. And a lot of times what's being published is what's already been released. So definitely work with your partner if you're wanting in-person training. You can also consider going to a 5 or 6 day CRM boot camp to get some in-person training. These are organizations that I'm particularly familiar with. There are probably quite a few training organizations across the globe that are offering training. These are US-based training organizations. And what I've laid out here is just kind of the focus of the training. So the first two on the left are really business use focused trainings, meaning you're going to go there and you're going to find out how to use CRM in your organization. And with Unitech and Netcom, which we've used, those are really certification focused, which means they're going to be spending time on the certification materials and getting you prepared for the certification if you're planning to take that. And then you can actually take the certification tests right on site at those organizations. So that's something, if you are exploring boot camps or exploring in-person training, you will want to explore whether it's business focused and kind of best practices focused or whether it's certification focused. And what I really mean by that, just from a certification standpoint, is certification spends equal amount of time on each function and feature of CRM. So there's 4 areas in the basic application certification I'll show you. And those are sales, marketing, service, and service scheduling. So you can see up in the top left that the basic CRM application certification covers those 4 areas. And so the certification is going to spend, the certification training is going to spend equal time on each part of those functions. But in reality, the sales marketing function is generally the most used area of CRM, and the service, followed by the service, and then lastly the service scheduling is not used in a lot of organizations. So a business-focused training is going to focus on the things that are used the most and not give an equal focus to those areas. These are the other certifications that are available for Microsoft Dynamics CRM. Again, I'll mention that really unless you're planning on becoming a consultant or you currently are a consultant, the certifications aren't going to be incredibly useful for your knowledge learning. They're more of that hoop to jump through to say that I know this information. But I can say that the application certification, if you are familiar with CRM, you use CRM all the time, is actually one of the most difficult certifications to pass because it is by the book. So it's not from your hands-on knowledge necessarily, it's exactly what the book says can and can't be done with Microsoft CRM. So you need to memorize the education materials and the e-learning that you go through. Some of the other trainings, the customization and configuration, the installation, those are, if you have an expertise in that area or if you've done those things, those are going to be a little bit easier to take those certification just with your hands-on knowledge. And then the implementing on the top right, that is really only necessary for partners to take that certification. To do certifications, though, anybody can do this. If you aren't already a Microsoft Certified Professional or you don't have that ID, you can go to mcp.microsoft.com, get yourself a MCP ID. You can register to take the test and schedule it. Take the test, and of course, you want to pass it. So pass the test the first time. It's about $150 to take a certification test. US dollars, so it's a little bit of an investment, but it probably won't kill you if you have to take it again. So let's talk about consulting, since I mentioned that you probably don't need to take the certifications unless you are in consulting or planning to go into consulting. If you're considering a career in consulting and you're currently working at a company that has CRM, or maybe you're not at all, maybe you're just on here thinking about becoming a consultant, there's a couple entries for you. You can look at your industry-specific knowledge that you have and seek out a consulting firm that implements in that industry. For example, PowerObjects has a focus on health and life sciences. So when we hire consultants, we like to look at people who maybe have experience with medical device companies. We want to look at people who have possible healthcare-specific experience. And so that is a good way to engage with a potential partner, because there's thousands of partners out there, using that as a gate. You can also look at technology specific. Maybe you have a specific expertise. Maybe it's SharePoint. Maybe you have an expertise in doing SQL and reporting and things like that. You can look for organizations that are looking for that level of person. And then there's always geography. If you don't plan to move anytime soon, of course, you're going to have to look for a Microsoft partner that is in your area. And these on the right are just some different roles that a Microsoft partner may be hiring in terms of consulting. And the reason why I actually have the same picture for the first three and the same picture for the second two is different consulting companies work differently. Some consulting companies hire these specific roles. At PowerObjects, we actually only hire 2 roles of consultants. We hire that project manager, business analyst, application consultant, and the data specialist, developer, programmer. And for the most part, there's a few exceptions in our consulting team, but for the most part, people are in one of those 2 roles. So you either work with the customer managing the project and you're an expert at the application, or you work on the back end sitting at your desk quietly and coding until somebody approaches you. So that's a little bit about consulting, and if you have any questions on consulting, you can always feel free to reach out to me. My email address is gretchen@powerobjects.com, and you can ask me anything you want. Now let's talk about that last part of the roadmap, and that's the MVP path. So consulting is definitely a precursor to the MVP path, although if you go to this blog down in the right-hand corner that I mentioned, where the MVPs are each talking about their different paths to how they became an MVP, that's kind of an interesting blog. You should check out if you're thinking about becoming an MVP. But the reason why consulting is a precursor is if you work within a specific organization, your experience is really within only that one organization. And you have to do a lot of reaching out, maybe talking to people on different communities and things like that, in order to build your knowledge of what best practices would be across multiple organizations and multiple implementations. So becoming a consultant, you would actually get that access to multiple organizations. I've worked with over 200 CRM implementations, and so I can tell you that 80% of companies do this, or this is the best practice for most organizations. And that's where you want to get that vast experience. But the MVP path beyond consulting is a lot of time spent. So MVPs are people who really have that ability to disseminate information, so they contribute out on communities. They spend time volunteering and speaking, and they spend time writing. Quite a few of the MVPs have written books that you will find in the marketplace. And it is just, it's a night and weekend approach. So if you, I'm not saying that MVPs don't have a balanced life, but a lot of them do spend quite a lot of their life devoted to contributing to the CRM community. But there's also some perks to that. You can see on the right here, the MVPs have an annual summit, and they do get together and exchange ideas, get information, and of course enjoy a little bit of social time with their MVP scarves and the cheerleaders. So let's just do a little recap here. Now that I've given you all of the information on how to become a CRM master, maybe now is the time, maybe you just joined this webinar just to get more resources for your organization where you can go to learn CRM. But maybe you are also considering a personal path towards becoming a CRM master, and so you want to evaluate where you are now. Do I love CRM? Do I want to learn more? Do I want to get to that expert level? Do I want to become a consultant? Or do I want to put in the time and effort to become an MVP from where I am now? I mentioned I would talk a little bit about the MVP process, and MVPs, there's about 4,000 MVPs in the world that are across all of the Microsoft technologies. There's only about, I believe, between 50 and 60 MVPs in the world focused on Microsoft CRM. So it's a very small group. The MVPs, I believe, are evaluated annually, and so it's the type of thing where you may be an MVP for a year, and then that may be the end of it if you don't continue to contribute to the community. So if you start writing, if you start contributing, eventually you will get noticed just with the sheer volume of contributions. And Microsoft is the one who selects those MVPs. So let's open it up to questions now. Have you had some questions coming in, Adam?
Yeah, we've got a couple coming in, and this is a great chance for anyone who's been waiting to enter their question either through the Q&A tab, the Q&A block, or the chat block. And if for some reason you can't see those, check the top of the screen. So one question that came in from a couple folks is just about access to your slides. Should people email you if they'd like a copy, or are you making those available?
These should be available on the MS Dynamics website, correct? Or is just the recording available?
We can put a link there, sure, or we
Okay.
can put a copy of them there. So we can plan to do that. So watch for an update from us when the session is available on demand.
Mm-hmm.
Another question that came in: how do you get on a roster to speak at one of these events like Convergence or the CRMUG event, et cetera? If you're a partner, does the same hold true for partners as well as clients for the volunteer speaker options?
Yep. It is really tough for partners. So this year, Microsoft did not ask partners, at least publicly. They may have approached some privately, but they did not ask partners to speak at Convergence or volunteer to speak at Convergence. So it's a Microsoft show, and they'll definitely be driving to have customers speak. I would say for partners, anytime that you can bring a customer into the picture, so rather than approaching, for example, Convergence or Microsoft alone to say, we would like to speak on this topic, say, we would like to bring a customer and co-present on this topic. That is going to be a much easier way to get into speaking. I don't know if that answers the question, but you can definitely, I think I mentioned reaching out to CRMUG, you can definitely do that. And Microsoft is a little more difficult with Convergence.
All right. Another question, one point of information that came in here a few minutes ago was that since I think you mentioned the Resource Center in the CRM interface, Gretchen, and Bim from the audience mentioned that since the Polaris update, the Resource Center is not by default in the left navigation anymore. So I just wanted to point that out for others.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
That just came in, and I thought I'd share it. And yeah, Vim also points out that you know, Extreme CRM is another event option for partners, by partners. So if you're a partner and you're looking to present, that's probably a good, maybe perhaps a better chance of getting accepted.
Yep. Yes, that is true.
Yeah. Let's see here. So there's a question on MVPs. What makes or determines that you are an MVP?
So Microsoft does make that choice. I heard at one point that it needs to be, you need to be nominated by another MVP. I'm not exactly sure if that is still true or if that is true. Microsoft monitors the communities. They monitor how much you're contributing blogs to the communities, and we'll also be looking at your speaking. I believe there is an application for MVP too that I saw at some point that might be on the mvp.microsoft.com website, so you might check that out. I'm struggling to remember if I actually saw a place that you could submit, but it generally is getting noticed by Microsoft and Microsoft making that decision.
Right. And I would definitely agree from my experience, Gretchen, that that people who become MVPs have put in a very concerted effort to contribute in various ways, as you've said. Certainly agree with you on that.
The two communities especially run by Microsoft, the MSDN community and the Dynamics communities. Those two communities are run by Microsoft, so you'll see that they will be, I'm actually designated as a primary contributor on one of those communities, and that designation just came from Microsoft. I didn't apply for it or anything, so they just monitor the communities and award people those nominations.
Someone actually pointed out that you can actually nominate yourself, most likely, for the MVP process, although
I thought I did see that somewhere, so then you would have to kind of draw attention to yourself as saying, I wrote this book or I contribute here.
Yeah, the forums are a great thing to mention. I think those do get measured quite a bit as well.
Yep.
All right. So let me see if there are any other questions here. A replay of this will be available on our website, and we will send an update to all the attendees, letting them know when that's available.
Yep. And when in doubt, they could definitely reach out to me.
Right. All right.
So I hope
one last question here, if maybe we have time.
Yep.
So one last question that came in here. Suggestions for developer training.
You know, that is a tough one. Even at PowerObjects, we are in the process of possibly planning a developer training. I may have to, if you could email me on that one, I may have to get back to you. But the developer training is definitely harder to find. So I know I have some resources on that, but I don't know off the top of my head.
And Vim points out that it's that the MSDN Dynamics CRM site, the MSDN site in the Dynamics CRM portion of it does have a developer training kit for some online resource.
Yep. For in-person training, I have typically recommended more technical people to consider attending the CRMUG Summit. That is probably the more technical of the conferences. So there's going to be a developer track there. But it's still not quite the hands-on training that you may be looking for.
All right. Well, Gretchen, I want to thank you so much for your time today. This was a really great session, and we're getting some great responses from the audience as well. And I want to thank everyone in the audience as well for attending today. This session is recorded. We'll be putting it online soon. So, Gretchen, thanks again.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
All right. Thanks to everyone, and have a great day.